Ladies and gentlemen, namaste, a very good morning and welcome to Canada India Foundation's 6th episode of our virtual webinar speaker series on Ayurveda. My name is Satish Thakkar, current chair of Canada India Foundation, and we have with us our national convener, Mr. Ritesh Malik, and also Dr. Harish Verma, president of Canadian Ayurvedic Practitioner Association. Friends, today we also have a very special guest, Honorable Raj Saini, Member of Parliament and Chair of Canada-India Parliamentary Group, Government of Canada. Mr. Saini, a very warm welcome.
Thank you.
Our distinguished speaker for today's session is Professor Sadhana Babel, an expert in thyroid disorder. Thyroid disorders are very common health problems in our society today. 1 in every 5 female and 1 in every 10 males are suffering from some kind of thyroid issues. She will enlighten us today on Ayurvedic management of various types of thyroid disorders. Dr. Sadhana, a very warm welcome to you in Toronto. Friends, before we begin our formal session, let me invite Ritesh Malik to introduce our special guest today. And we're looking forward to this great, exciting presentation today. Ritesh, over to you.
Thank you, Satish ji. Namaste and welcome all. Our special guest today, Mr. Raj Saini, Member of Parliament, has had the privilege of representing thriving community of Kitchener Centre since 2015. Very hands-on Member of Parliament, he likes meeting most of his constituents at their doorsteps and places of gathering, work and worship. Since 1995, he has served this community as a pharmacist and small business co-owner and continued his representation of Kitchener Centre residents in Ottawa after being re-elected in 2019. He is a firm believer that the economy and environment go hand in hand and is dedicated to leaving a better world for future generations. As a pharmacist, Rajji has long been an advocate of a national pharma care program. He is committed to connecting small businesses and youth with meaningful employment opportunities. Every year, he visits almost every Canada summer jobs employer and student because he believes that each visit is a chance to learn about the range of businesses and organizations that contribute to our great community. In his free time, you can find Rajji discussing international affairs and he likes reading. Welcome, Mr. Saini, in today's program.
Thank you very much to everybody. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate this. And I want to thank the organizers, Canada India Foundation, and also our guest speaker, Dr. Sadhana Babel, for putting this event together. I also want to congratulate CIF on making sure that even during these unprecedented times, that you have created opportunities for us to virtually participate and still feel like a community, maybe not in person, but at least online, so we don't feel isolated alone, but we still have the opportunity to learn and discuss and to meet virtually. One of the most important things I believe that this pandemic has taught us is how small the world is, but more importantly, how interconnected the world is. And one of the things that we've seen is there are certain issues that happen in society, there's a certain fragility in society that has been exposed. And when you look at the global inequity around the world, one of the key areas you'll find is healthcare. And that's why I think preventative healthcare, a healthy lifestyle, good nutrition is not only going to be important for us today, but as we come through this pandemic and as we go into the future, that's going to be really something that's going to be important, not in terms of physical health, but also most importantly in terms of mental health. So today's talk is about preventive health, and I'm looking forward to listening to the talk. We must also continue to remain vigilant in making sure that we wear a mask, we practice social distancing, and that we wash our hands frequently. And as we have the uptake of the vaccines that will be coming through the next few months, it's important that we get vaccinated when our time or when we are called to do so. So thank you again for inviting me, and I look forward to this important topic. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Rajji, for taking time on Sunday morning out and joining us. And the CIF key objective through this Ayurvedic speaker series is to help promote 6,000-year-old our ancient tradition of Ayurveda for, as you rightly said it, not only for good health physically, but also well-being of mentally, spiritually, and overall holistic health we are targeting through that. And now let me invite our distinguished speaker, Dr. Sadhana Babul. She's an MD in Ayurveda and PhD in Kaya Chikitsa. She is a gold medalist in Kaya Chikitsa and working as a professor at SSAM College in Maharashtra, India, from last 28 plus years. She's a senior Ayurveda consultant, practicing since 1992, treated many patients of paraplegia, neurological disorder, spine disorder, and many more. So over to you, and thank you so very much, Dr. Sadhana, for joining us this morning and sharing your wisdom and insight and knowledge for all the Canadians. We welcome you and thank you, and it's over to you now. Dr. Sadhana, unmute yourself.
Yes. All dignitaries who are online and offline. Mr. Raj Seni sir, Member of Parliament from Canada. Mr. Satishji Thakkar sir, from Chairperson CIF. Then Dr. Harish Verma ji from Canada Ayurvedic Practitioners Association. Mr. Ritesh ji, National Convener CIF. And all people from Canada, India, and other countries. Namaskar. Good morning to Westerns and good evening to Easterns. First, I would like to thank for giving me opportunity to share Ayurvedic aspect or experience on worldwide big burden of health issues regarding thyroid disorders. In this virtual Ayurveda speaker series, session 6. So I would like to thank CIF, Canada Ayurvedic Practitioners Association, Dr. Harish G. Verma, Dr. Sanjay Chhajet from India, and all members of CIF and Canada Ayurvedic Practitioners Association. Today's topic is Today's topic is Ayurvedic management of various types of thyroid disorders. So actually this is very vast, huge topic of thyroid disorders. So actually this is a vast topic and unable to cover within given limited time. So I have focused only on hypothyroidism. Hypothyroidism is most common among endocrine diseases. It is highly prevalent. The burden of thyroid disease in general population is enormous. Thyroid is the increasing problem all over the world. In India here, more than 42 million people in India are suffering from thyroid diseases, and it is on number 2 after diabetes mellitus. More common in females. 2 to 5% females are suffering from hypothyroidism. Out of 10 patients, 8 are female. Thyroid disorder can affect child, pregnant woman, and elderly also. So today we will talk about hypothyroidism. First, we will see what is thyroid gland, what is anatomy of thyroid gland in brief. Thyroid gland is an endocrine gland Endocrine means ductless. Endocrine glands are ductless glands of endocrine system that secretes their products or hormones directly in bloodstream, that are called as endocrine glands. And thyroid gland is the most important in endocrine system. So there is very important topic of thyroid disorder. On this slide you can see one picture of thyroid gland. It is book shaped gland situated in our neck anteriorly. So here is the anatomy of thyroid gland according to modern science. There is no special reference in Ayurvedic Samhitas regarding anatomy of thyroid gland, but written as Avatuka Granthi. Modern science says it is vascular organ. So if we correlate this vascular organ, that is Matruja Avayav. When there is a conception or union of sperm and ovum, there are embryologically some organs from mother or father or from mind, soul, according to Ayurveda. So it is coming from mother, that is Matruja Avayav. Modern science says embryologically thyroid gland develops from midline invagination at the root of tongue. That is, in embryological, thyroid gland is developed from root of tongue. And according to Ayurveda, tongue develops from kapha dosha, rakta dhatu and mamsa dhatu. There are three types of dosha. Previous lectures have mentioned that dosha, dhatu and all these. So kapha is dosha and shonita means blood, mons means muscular part in brief. So the tongue is developed from kapha, blood and mamsa. This is the brief anatomy. If you see in this slide, there is a, if we take a section of thyroid gland, there is a histological slide. If we see under the microscope, we can see this picture. There are follicular cells, follicular cavities, and there is metabolism in that follicular cavities. So to prepare the hormones of thyroid gland. And according to Ayurveda, basic structure or all organs are developed from 5 elements. You all know, maybe there is a space or akash, then air, then fire or tej, earth and water. So when you are seeing in this slide, there is a follicular cavity. These are follicular cavities and this is made up by a space element. These are 5 elements. And metabolism or metabolism which is done in this cavity is by tej or fire. There are follicular cells. You can see these are the blue colors. These are follicular cells and there is a metabolism. So this is made by earth element and water element. And there are capillaries smaller, and these are consist of earth, water, space and air. So if we see the structure of thyroid gland, we can correlate with Ayurvedic concept of 5 elements. Now, in brief, if we see what are the hormones of thyroid gland, there are T3, T4, calcitonin are the hormones of thyroid glands. T4 forms 90% of secretion and T3 forms 9 to 10% of secretion of thyroid gland. T3 and T4 are the main hormones of thyroid glands. If we just look on this slide, there is a slide how the thyroid hormones regulate our body and all the systems. I am not going in details in this slide, but you can see the thyroid hormones, how they regulate other systems, liver, bones, central nervous system, heart are the targeted tissues by thyroid. then muscles, then again negative feedback to pituitary gland, which is the main gland or endocrine gland, and hypothalamus, which is the part of brain. This slide shows how to regulation of thyroid hormones is going. Then synthesis of thyroid hormones. How synthesizes the these hormones? Iodine and tyrosine are essential for synthesis, and both are consumed through our diet. If these are less or deficiency, then we face the thyroid problems. Approximately 1 milligram of iodine is required per week, or about 50 milligram per year, to synthesize of thyroid hormone. Iodine and tyrosine rich diet is essential for synthesis. Now, this is the Ayurvedic aspect of thyroid hormone synthesis. There are 5 synthesis steps according to modern science: thyroglobulin synthesis, oxidation of iodide, iodination of tyrosine, then coupling reaction occurs and transport to the all systems. And if these are modern science says these steps, then according to Ayurveda, which basic fundamentals or which basic body structure who conduct this synthesis? Thyroglobulin synthesis is conducted by Pitta, Kapha and Kleda. Iodide trapping or iodide pump is definitely conducted by Vata dosha, Rasa dhatu and Rakta dhatu. Rasa dhatu means plasma, you can say. Rakta dhatu means blood. Then oxidation of iodide is by Pitta dosha. Then because it is important in metabolic reactions. Iodination of tyrosine, again Pitta dosha. Whenever there is a metabolism, there is Pitta dosha. For coupling reaction, Vata dosha and Kapha dosha. And for transport of these all prepared hormones, 100% definitely it conduct by Vata dosha. So these are the hormone synthesis by, according to Ayurveda, Tridoshas and Dhatus are involved for this synthesis. Then we will move to Ayurvedic aspect of functions of thyroid gland. We have seen anatomy of thyroid gland, 5 elements involvement of in thyroid gland development, then how embryologically thyroid gland develops according to Ayurveda view. And I want to say about that, if it is Matruja Avayav or vascular organ, so maybe ratio of female to male is major. So these are the functions of thyroid gland. If we go through this flow chart, functions of thyroid glands are increases BMR, increases body temperature, protein synthesis, then carbohydrate metabolism. All these promote growth in children, maintain weight of the body. Then according to modern science, these all functions are done by thyroxine, T3, T4 or hormones of thyroid gland. If Ayurveda concept is depend on, or main fundamentals of Ayurveda is dosha, dhatu and mala. So which dosha or which dhatu or which mala can do these functions according to Ayurveda? Regarding BMR, basal metabolic rate, Vata dosha, karma, then regulates body temperature is by Pitta, protein synthesis, carbohydrate metabolism. Again, this is done by Vayu karma, because there are 5 types of each, Vata, Pitta and Kapha, and according to that Vata, there is a Saman Vayu, and it digest all your diet, because it is Agni Samipastaha. So Saman Vayu karma is protein synthesis, carbohydrate metabolism, then fat, decreases fat storage, cholesterol, phospholipids and triglycerides. This is Vayu karma, and of course Pitta too, because it is necessary for digestion. Promote growth in children and maintain weight of the body. This is Vayu karma too and Kapha karma too. So these I am briefly saying only Vayu or Kapha. Actually there are 5 types of each dosha, Vata, Pitta and Kapha, and Again, these functions of thyroid gland is conducted by that 5 types of vata, pitta, and kapha. Then next is, it is important for to maintain the heart rate or increases heart rate. That is again pranavayu, vanavayu, and udanavayu function, or these are responsible for heart rate. Pranavayu and vanavayu is the son of heart, so vata dosha. Then normal activity of skeletal muscles, that is again conducted by vata dosha. Then increases rate and force of respiration. Of course, for respiration, udan and pranavayu are responsible. Then essential for development of CNS. Again, that is from vata dosha. For this vata, pitta, and kapha, if we go through Charak Samhita, there is Vayus Tantra Yantra Dhara, Vata Kala Kaliya Adhyay, and there are the functions of these included in that vata dosha properties. And normal sexual function, that is again vata dosha is important. Then if these are the functions of thyroid gland, then what disorders of thyroid gland can occur if hormones are less or more? Disorders of thyroid gland, main disorders are hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. Hypothyroidism means less hormone secretion, hyperthyroidism excess hormone secretion. And according to Ayurveda, vitiation of vata and kapha is responsible for hypothyroidism, and vitiation of vata and pitta is responsible for hyperthyroidism. And other disorders are thyroiditis, goiter, malignancy, etc. So this topic is, as I have already told, that very vast topic. So we will go through in this lecture only for hypothyroidism. Hypothyroidism. In this slide, you can see decreased secretion of thyroid hormones is called as hypothyroidism. There are many causes for hypothyroidism. Primary causes are autoimmune hypothyroidism. It causes destruction of gland, iatrogenic or treatment of hyperthyroidism, transient, silent or subacute thyroiditis, or withdrawal of thyroxine treatment immediately or not by tapering. And secondary to hypopituitarism, maybe there is tumor or surgery or trauma. Hypothalamic diseases like tumors and trauma, it is secondary to these diseases, hypothyroidism. In Ayurveda, it is called as upadravas. So upadravas of hypopituitarism or hypothalamic diseases. So main causes, according to modern science, as autoimmune hypothyroidism, and it causes destruction of gland. Then transient phase, immediately withdrawal of thyroxine treatment, or secondary to hypopituitarism or hypothalamic. Then prevalence of hypothyroidism. It is more prevalent in females, 4 per 1,000 women and 1 per 1,000 men. This is the ratio or prevalence of hypothyroidism. You can see this slide, hypothyroidism. If there are secretion of thyroid glands hormones, then what happen in your body? Which systems can affect this less secretions of thyroid gland? Thyroid gland secretions or T3, T4 hormones can affect any system of body, starting from central nervous system, then mood swing, then forgetfulness, then in neck goiter, hair loss, puffy face, to the skin, dry itchy skin, or muscle cramps, stiffness, numbness or tinglingness, then elevated cholesterol, weight gain. These are the effects of thyroid gland secretions when they are low or less. It can affect any system of our body, including our central nervous system to skin. even though reproductive system, digestive system, all systems can affect this less hormone secretion. Now, according to Ayurveda, there is a one concept. If doshas are vitiated due to any causative factors, and they found any weak system in your body, then they correlate with that system and create complaints or symptoms of that organ. Even though in slide you can see all symptoms of this hypothyroidism, but the experience says all these symptoms are not present in a single patient. If there is a weakness in CNS, then may symptoms or complaints are regarding to CNS. If patient's skin is delicate or weak, then vitiated doshas make complaints of dry skin. If reproductive system is weak, then vitiated vata and kapha make complaints of amenorrhea, scanty menorrhea, or sometimes menorrhagia, or problems like PCOS. So depends on your system's immunity, the patient when come in clinic that presents any of these symptoms. Now, Ayurvedic aspect symptoms of hypothyroidism. First symptom is there is a tiredness, weakness. Patient feels tired and weak. So it is a symptom of vata, vitiation of vata. Then involvement of rasa, rakta, that is blood, and meda, that is fat. And the system is rasavaha, medavaha, srotas according to Ayurveda. These are the flow chart. Dry skin is the lakshana or symptom of vata vitiation. Then decrease in rasa dhatu or plasma. Then decrease in sweating. In this slide, if you see here, there are symptoms, involvement of doshas, whether they are increased or decreased. Here dhatu, whether they are increased or decreased. Here a special column for mala, and this sankalpana or this concept is in only Ayurveda, that excretory products, that fecal matter, urine or sweda, they are too important in doing treatment, or while treating the patient we have to think about this excretory factors, that is called as mala. And srotasas means channels to carry the products from different organs, or in modern that all are the systems. Rasavaha or raktavaha, that is cardiovascular, we can correlate. Monovaha, then mental stability. So here you can see feeling cold is the lakshana of kapha vritti or vata vritti. Difficulty in concentration and poor memory is the symptom of hypothyroidism, and it is due to vitiation of vata and decrease in pitta dosha. And there is a concept of oja, when 7 dhatus are prepared very strongly, and after all last is oja, that is decrease in oja can create difficulty in concentration and poor memory, and it is a symptom of manovaha and majjavaha srotas or CNS. Then many times this symptom is ignored by patient. Constipation, that is lakshana of vata vriddhi, and purisha kshay, matlab less fecal matter, and channel is purishavaha srotas. Purish means fecal matter. It is also very, very important while treating. We can under consideration. So constipation is the symptom. Then weight gain with poor appetite, that is kapha vriddhi, vitiation of kapha dosha, meda dhatu, that is fat, and medovah srotasa, dyspnea. Then you can see hoarseness of voice, many menorrhagia and later oligomenorrhea, paresthesia, and impaired hearing. These all karmas are vata, pitta, kapha, and done by vitiation or decreasing in that doshas. Then involvement of dhatu in this to create these symptoms. Mala, I have already told, this is sweda kshay. If you have very decreased swed or some patients telling that no sweating, even though in summer season, then paresthesia occurs. So impaired hearing is the actually that is the ear is the vata dosha sthan or place. So impaired hearing is due to vitiation of vata dosha. Then myxedema, that is kapha, rasa, mausa and meda. Myxedema means excess very severe hypothyroidism. It may convert in coma to and severe stage of hypothyroidism. So these are the responsible doshas, dhatus and srotasas. Diffuse alopecia. Actually, hair fall or diffuse alopecia is in hypothyroidism, vitiation of vata, then rasa and rakta, asthi. Asthi means bones, decrease in quality, properties of that dhatus. Then sweat, decrease in sweat, and kesha. Kesha or hairs is the again excretory or mala concept from Ayurveda. So diffuse alopecia. Sometimes when you are on thyroxine treatment, so when you start thyroxine, there is side effect of thyroxine is hair fall for some duration. After all, after some times it will cure. Then delayed tendon reflex reaction. Actually, tendon reflex or any reaction conducted by vata, when there is a vitiation of vata dosha or increase in vata dosha, then delayed tendon reflex reaction, asthi majja, and these are the channels, bones or skeletal-muscular and CNS to responsible for delayed tendon reflex reaction. Now, when patient entered in clinic, or these are the symptoms. Symptoms means complaints given by patients. And now we are seeing this slide, signs of hypothyroidism, that is assessment by your doctor. Dry, cold skin, cool peripheral extremities you can measure. Then myxedema means puffy face, hand and feet. Increase glycosaminoglycan content traps water, giving rise to skin thickening without pitting. Diffuse alopecia, bradycardia. We can see bradycardia by pulse examination. Peripheral edema we can see by eyes, or 5 sensory organs are under. We can examine these signs of hypothyroidism. Delayed tendon reflex reaction, carpal tunnel syndrome. That is, there is a one tunnel in wrist joint, and the median nerve passes through. When compression of that median nerve in the wrist joint, there is carpal tunnel syndrome. So tingling, numbness or pain is there. Then serous cavity effusion we can see. These all assessments are done by doctor, that is signs of hypothyroidism. Then in modern, if we go through this slide, levothyroxine is the only treatment given by modern science. We can manage dose according to TSH level. Actually, here I have not mentioned TSH because that is the hormone of pituitary gland. When thyroid get suppressing their hormones or less creation, so pituitary has to secrete thyroid stimulating hormone more. So when T3, T4 decreases, pituitary have to work or stimulate thyroid gland, and her secretion of TSH level is increased. So adult patient under 60 years without evidence of heart disease may be started on 50 or 100 levothyroxine. This is the dose, and that decided by endocrinologist. TSH should be measured after 2 months of treatment, because the circulation or regulation of T3, T4 synthesis that required this time. So TSH should be measured, not necessary if we start from today thyroxine and after 8 days or 15 days or 1 month again we have repeat T3, T4, TSH investigations. There is no difference. We should measure after 2 months only. Then dose adjustment is done by endocrinologist of levothyroxine. So if we go through this slide, hypothyroidism is due to visation of vata kapha. Hyperthyroidism is due to visation of vata pitta. In this slide, you can see the difference between hypothyroid and hyperthyroid. Exactly opposite signs and symptoms are seen in patient. If here weight gain in hypothyroidism, there is weight loss. If here dry, itchy skin, there is thinning skin, or you can see constipation in hypothyroidism and frequent bowel movements in hyperthyroidism. The patients on thyroxine treatment, there is a very thin line between hypo and hyper. Maybe due to excess dose of thyroxine, patient may convert from hypothyroid to hyperthyroidism. So high TSH level and low T3, T4 antibodies to TPO in Hashimoto thyroiditis. And here in hyperthyroidism, low TSH level but high T3, T4, because T3, T4 are excess in hyperthyroid. So pituitary controls her TSH level and antibodies to the TSH receptor, that is Graves' disease. Here Hashimoto, and in hyper there is a Graves' disease. Now there is a concept of hormones secreted by endocrines in modern science. Then what is the Ayurveda aspects? Whether hormones are doshas, whether hormones are dhatus, whether hormones are mala or excretory, whether Agni or fire, we can consider as doshas. So because there is a coordination of nervous system and endocrine system and interlocking super system. So what are the hormones we can consider as doshas, not dhatu, mala or agni? Because according to Ayurveda concept, shante agnom riyate, when there is no agni in your body, then you are died. So if, and according to modern science, there is a procedure of thyroidectomy. If we remove thyroid gland, still patient is live. So according to Ayurvedic concept, agni is not, we can say, hormones. So doshas we can consider as hormones. Because Vayu, there are three doshas. First is here Vayu, because main dosha in any normal or abnormal condition is Vayu. Without Vayu, Pitta and Kapha are helpless or handicapped. So Vayu is regulator, governor and ruler, leader and creator, promoter, instigator and originator, and stimulator too. So Vayu plays important role in endocrinology. Pitta plays important role in metabolism. Then all concept of mind, then luster of skin or color, and kapha for stability. These three doshas are important or work like hormone. Then what is the Ayurvedic concept of hypothyroidism? How it occurs in body? First is Nidan Panchak. Nidan Panchak means when you after examining patient, we have to see what are the signs, what are symptoms. Then we have to find a positive factor of that patient. If we find positive factor, then how it creates pathophysiology in your body, and then we go to diagnosis, that is Nidan Panchak. That is beginning from positive factors till diagnosis, which is the procedure or which is the pathophysiology in your body is Nidan Panchak. So Agni Mandya, that is loss of appetite, due to loss of appetite, visceration of Vata and Kapha. And due to Dhatvagni Mandya or poor metabolism, there is a disorder, or there is a abnormality in Mansa, that is muscular organs, or Meda Dhatu, that is fat. So if vata, vitiated vata and kapha along with meda dhatu, it creates hypothyroidism and it can be treated by treatment. But when vata kapha is associated with mamsa dhatu or muscular parts, then it converts into tumors or malignancy or any growth in thyroid gland, and that is dhanvantari adhikar, that is surgical treatment. So if vata kapha is associated with meda dhatu, it can be said as hypothyroidism, and when vata kapha is associated with mamsa dhatu, it can be said as tumors, malignancy, and that treated by surgical treatment. So main things are in Ayurvedic concept of hypothyroidism is vata and kapha vitiation, and main dhatus are mamsa and meda along with other dhatus, because concept of dhatu nirmiti or preparation or development is very unique concept of Ayurveda. So it may be Kedar Kulyan or Khale Kapotna. That is not the issue, but vata, kapha, mamsa, meda are main factors. Then now I am going to share my experience of Ayurvedic management of hypothyroidism. I have treated more than 1,000 patients in last 10 years, and in this year, approx 120 patients. What I observe in these patients, 50% patients are diagnosed already and on thyroxine treatment, and then came to me for Ayurvedic treatment. As many times signs and symptoms are remaining same, only TSH is normal, but symptoms are still there. So they came to clinic. In thyroid disorders, hypothyroidism is more common, what I observe. Then female ratio is very, very high. In these all patients, only I can say 5 to 10 patients of hyperthyroidism I have seen. Age group from 16 years to 50 years is more common. Then when hypothyroidism patients came in clinic, common symptoms are obesity or weight gain, amenorrhea, delayed menses, scanty menses, PCOS, and due to this, infertility. They came for infertility, then mood swings, anger, maybe fatigue, or maybe in depression, maybe patient present with only depression, then dry skin or loss of skin luster, hyperpigmentation, dry hair and hair fall, joint pain, swelling, laziness or lethargy, palpitation, and constipation. So here I want to share my one patient. I admitted in college hospital for constipation and other symptoms. When we started her basti, approx I think 65 to 60 to 65 years old lady, when we have given basti, the feeling is there is some obstruction in rectal region or anal region. So what can the cause? But unable to find, then we called to surgeon, and according to his experience, he told that due to only hypothyroidism is these are the complaints. So we go again T3 T4, that is not known case of hypothyroidism, but when we did her T3 T4 and TSH and rule out, the diagnosis was very different, apart from digestive system, that hypothyroidism, and she was cured by treatment then. Then basic principles while treating the patients, which are the doshas involved, maybe higher vata or higher kapha and less pitta or what. Then what are the doshas? The doshas correlate with which dosha are important very, because treatment along that will change. If vitiated vata kapha is situated or it correlate with reproductive system, treatment differs. Then if vitiated doshas associated with rasa dhatu or skin, treatment differs. If these doshas associated with CNS, treatment differs. So basic principles while treating patients or not depends on only the T3, T4 and TSH level, but depends on dosha, dusha, body constitution of that patient, bala, that is whether he is or she is strong or able to do work, then via age, mind, then diet factors, lifestyle, all these, and the color, that is the time or which is the season of that when patient we are treating, what is the season, whether it is summer, winter or rainy season, and lifestyle. So these are the basic principles. And when patient came across us, these are the parameters: subjective, pulse, tongue, voice, then touch, eyes, body structure, fecal matter and urine, and objective parameters, of course, T3, T4, TSH, ultrasonography or USG, scan of thyroid and biopsy, FNAC. Then treatment. Treatment varies from patient to patient as body constitution of patient is different. Involvement of doshas and dhatus is different patient to patient. So treatment varies from patient to patient. Unable to give same treatment to all patients of hypothyroidism. This is the first and very important principle. Then depends on all factors described in previous slide. It's easy to treat patient who is not on thyroxine and directly came in clinic and diagnosed with our principles. If on thyroxine, we should not stop thyroxine directly. We should taper it. I prefer Ayurvedic treatment. After starting that, then I said, I am saying to patient that you again meet your endocrinologist and they will taper the dose of thyroxine. I am not interfering in that treatment. Should go through Ayurvedic principles is the very important. Type of treatment, drug varies patient to patient. Then what is the general treatment? According to Ayurveda, Samshodhan, Shaman Chikitsa, that is internal medicines, and lifestyle modification. These three are the principles of treatment. In Samshodhan, we can give intake of medicated ghee or oil. There is a one reference that is old ghee before 10 years is advisable, or medicated oil. Then Svedan means hot fermentation. There are the various types of Svedan. Then Vaman means emesis, purgation, nasal drops, nasya, and bloodletting, raktamokshan. These are the treatment for Shodhan Chikitsa or detoxification of body, Vaman, Virechan, Nasya, and Raktamokshan, emesis, purgation, nasal drops, and bloodletting. There is no reference of Basti Chikitsa or enema, but I am trying to always using different types of Basti in hypothyroidism. Then Shaman Chikitsa. These are the single herbs we can use in hypothyroidism. Here is the huge list of single herbs. We can use decoction in the form of dry powder, then in the form of combination too. And main dravyas or main herbs these are the single herbs. I found in this all these patients with Kanchanar or Bohinia variegata, there is a Cedrus devdas, then Semicarpus anacardium, then Curcuma longa, and Swartia chiraita are the, and main is Moringa oleifera, that is Shigru or Shobhanjan. There is a toxicity too. So Shirish or Albizia lebeca is also important dravya, Tinospora cardifolia. Then Hansapadi. I have given one talk for research. There is a use of polyherbs formulation in hypothyroidism in Maharashtra University of Health Sciences to my PhD student, and we are working on that research topic, that is role of polyherbal formulation in hypothyroidism. And these herbs are from this Swartia chiraita, then Bohnia variegata. Then main ingredient is Hansapadi Adiantum, Lunulatum, then Tinospora cardifolia. So these are the single herbs. You can use the formulations according to the patient's complaints and pathophysiology. Kanchanar Gugul, Kaishor Gugul, Shigru Gugul, we have prepared self-prepared drug. Then Triphala Gugul, Arogyavardhini, Chandraprabha, Kirat Tikta Ghanavati, Gomutra Haritaki is again, it's very, very important drug of choice. And Hamsapathyadi Kashayam and tablet Thironil is the product by Bharadwaj company. It's also having nice results. That is a combination of other kalpas. So lifestyle modification. Ahar. Avoid heavy, spicy, dry stale foods. Overeating or too fasting or skipping meals. Should take proper diet according to geographical area and local foods. Then Trikatu. Honey, Gomutra Yukta Yav, cereals, wheat and rice you can consume. Moong bean impulses and vegetables, all gourds, especially snake gourd, is advisable in hypothyroidism. And drumstick and along with their leaves, it will be helpful to in hypothyroidism. Then Vihar means exercise, walking, you should avoid day sleep. Then proper night sleep. Then yoga. In yoga, Setu Bandhasan, Ushtrasan, Halasan, and Bhujangasan are advisable in Bihar. So this is Setu Bandhasan, that is bridge pose, Ushtrasan, that is the camel pose, and Halasan. These are the three asanas here. You can see the pictures. Then stress management, too important in hypothyroidism, because due to stress, Vata and Kapha and Pitta vitiation occurs. So pranayam, meditation, Omkara, and avoid Shadripu, 6 enemies of mind. That is longing for physical pleasure, anger, greed, attachment, vanity, and jealousy. You should avoid these 6 enemies of mind. You should regularly do meditation and pranayam for stress management. So these are the basic concepts of Ayurveda I have described in this little lecture. Now, only this is last slide. There is many times there is a question, when we stop Ayurvedic treatment, what further, or is there recurrence of hypothyroidism? So here is in first report in November 2012, the TSH level is 13.76. Then after starting Ayurvedic, it is diagnosed in clinic only. Then after starting Ayurvedic treatment, after Basti treatment in January 2013, TSH was 4.10, and from lab report they have mentioned that patient is on hypoantheric. So this is after 2 months it is normal. Then again we have checked in actually there are many reports in this 7-8 years, but this is from third report is from May 20, that is 4.38. Not any complaint of hypothyroidism, but we still are checking these reports. Then in next slide you can see this report is from August 20 and TSH is 2.63. So after withdrawal of Ayurvedic treatment, patient is not recurrent in hypothyroidism. Patient still enjoying his healthy life. So these are the reports of one patient. So I would like to conclude, burden of hypothyroidism is very high. Ayurveda gives not only symptomatic relief or correct the only reports or correct only TSH level, but swastha and normal life to these patients. We can stop Ayurvedic treatment. Huge scope or need for further research in this to establish this treatment on worldwide platform. So there is a scope of further research. you have any query, you can call or WhatsApp on this number, and you can mail to. I will answer your queries. Now I am thank you very much for giving me this opportunity on a big platform, which is under two flags. It is very precious or proudful moment for me. I am talking under two flags. So thanks again, Canada India Association and Canada Ayurvedic Practitioners Associations, all members, all peoples from Canada, India, and world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Sadhana, for such a wonderful, wonderful presentation. Very thorough, and we really appreciate for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. I'm gonna request Dr. Harish Verma to have some moderation of the Q&A. I know we are running a bit out of time, but one question which I got was that what kind of a treatment option would you recommend for a female child of 10 to 11-year-old for the hypothyroidism? If any quick note you would like to share, and I would request all our panel or all the audience who want to ask question, please do share us. We have all your question, and we'll send to Dr. Sadhana, and she will reply through email or down the road also. And whatever, given the time constant, whatever we can address today, we'll definitely address today. Over to you, Dr. Sadhana.
Yes, actually there is one reference in when a child below 16 years, it is considered as second branch, that is Kaumara Bhrutya Tantra, and treatment given in pediatrics is same like adults, only the dose will be differ from adults to pediatric. We can consume any drug according to complaints of that child, or according to causative factors, whether it is congenital or whether we have to take history of his parents too, because I have told that is muscular vascular organ, and that is a matruj avayav or coming developing from mother. So we have to take history of that parents, and then we will decide. But we can consume all drugs which are in adult hypothyroidism in less dose.
Thank you. Dr. Verma, over to you.
First of all, thank you, Dr. Sadhana ji. It was an excellent presentation, and I believe everybody will be benefited. And Saini ji, it may be a new subject for you. Let me introduce. Ayurveda is the oldest medical science in the world. This was originated in India around 5,000 years ago. The only difference is of the language. All the terms which Dr. Sadhana mentioned, it is all in Sanskrit. This is the only difference. This was a system. It has its own philosophy on the basic theory of three energies, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Like modern science has a different terminology, like of hormones, enzymes, microbiology, etc. But this science was originated 5,000 years ago, and it was well documented. Now, today's topic was hypothyroidism. If you look at the modern science, the gland is situated in the neck. When this gland is not producing adequate hormone called thyroxine, or when this gland is underactive, it is labeled as hypothyroidism. And what the modern doctors, what the allopathic doctor does, they give synthetic hormone, which is made in the laboratory, to the patient, but they don't do any effort to reactivate the gland. And interestingly, as Dr. Webel mentioned, and we have seen in our practice, that patients are not cured with thyroxine. Their only TSH level, which we measure in the blood, that is only labeled. That is not a cure. And the entire world is just depending on thyroxine. There is a huge vacuum And as Dr. Bevel has mentioned, in Ayurveda, we treat and the thyroxine level is maintained or it become normal with the Ayurvedic treatment. And interestingly, all the symptoms which patients are complaining, they become normal. This is the major difference between allopathic and Ayurvedic approach. So if the Canadian government, Canadian scientists or American scientists, if they can look into a different choice of treatment, we can find some new drugs, we can find new method of treatment which will be very helpful for the humanity, because there are millions of people now, they are suffering from hypothyroidism, they are not getting any cure, they are taking medicines for the some patients are taking for 20 years, some are taking for 30 years, some are taking for 10 years. There is no relief at all. And there is a time now to look into Ayurvedic medicines. As Dr. Sadhana, she is a PhD, she is teaching, she's in teaching institute, she has done a lot of research, and many researchers in India are doing such kind of activities. Now it is for the West to look into Ayurvedic system so that we can find out some new medicines, because these medicines are already helping and they are mentioned in our literature, and we are testing it, we are daily using it, we are applying it on human beings. And interestingly, the history of Ayurveda is 5,000 years old. This is an old system. So traditionally we are using it. So now the time has come when the researchers should think of a new line of treatment, because people are suffering and they are just giving only levothyroxine or thyroxine. And the medical experts who are listening me, they will be knowing it, that levothyroxine is not the only answer. They are not even touching the autoimmune process. They are not touching the what is going wrong in our body. But in Ayurveda, we treat the people with the we treat holistically, and we balance the all energies, and the results are there. As Dr. Bevel has shown, she is not giving any thyroxine. Just by correcting the whatever increased dosha is in the body, patient become normal. Not only that, TSH become normal, but the all symptoms, patient is made symptom free from with the help of Ayurvedic treatment. So there is a strong need now to look into Ayurvedic treatments from research point of view. Thank you, Steve ji. Thank you, Dr. Bevel ji. Thank you, Saini ji.
Thank you, Dr. Verma. Thank you for your passion. I know our overall objective at CIF level is to promote Ayurveda as a preventative healthcare. Of course, in the disease management side, a lot of research need to be done. As we always say, that evidence-based science need to be practiced. So we need to allocate a reasonable amount of resources for that purpose. And our objective is to promote Ayurveda as a preventative for sure in the Western part of the world. And of course, with the requisite resources, we're working towards having more evidence-based, outcomes so that it can be promoted as a holistic health. Thank you once for all. And Ritesh, over to you for your final concluding remarks, and then we'll conclude.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you, Dr. Sadhana Bevel, for enlightening audience today about how Ayurveda can help in thyroid disorders. This is such a great information to know and share, that Ayurveda believes in controlling thyroid by balancing the energies of the body and correcting the circulation of thyroxine hormone in the body. It provides some really easy remedies for thyroid patients that can be practiced at home to control thyroid. Thank you so very much for sharing your experience and wisdom with us today. We would also like to thank Mr. Raj Saini for sparing time to join us today and help us spread the message of holistic health. Thank you, Rajji. A special thanks to all the audience for joining us virtually. Please do share your feedback with us. That is very important for us to improve the quality of these webinars. Gratitude to Dr. Harish Verma Canadian Ayurvedic Practitioners Association, Vedic Spiritual Heritage Foundation, Consulate General of India, and all the media partners for our webinar speaker series, especially Parvasi Media and Channel Y for covering this program live. Friends, also please stay in tune for our next Ayurvedic speaker series webinar on Ayurvedic management of hypertension and IHD on Sunday, 27th December, same time. Our expert speaker for this session would be Professor Satyendra Narayan Ojha. And also, friends, please stay tuned for our upcoming virtual annual Global Indian Award Gala, which you all have been waiting for. That is on 27th December at 6:30 p.m. live. It will be live on our YouTube and Facebook channel. This year, our award winner is Mr. Nav Bhatia, Raptor superfan. So please stay tuned, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you. Good day and namaste.